Before you watch this episode of our City Current radio show, I want to invite you to join City Current's e-learning and online personal development platform called Growth Current. I'm Jeremy Park, host of the City Current radio show and CEO of City Current. Growth Current is your exclusive ticket to attend virtual events with global thought leaders, national guest speakers, and experts who can help you grow personally and professionally. It gives you access to success secrets, lessons learned, learning modules, and so much more. Being online, you can join us from anywhere in the world. Subscriptions are only $8 a month, or you can do bulk subscriptions for your team. Check out growthcurrent.com to learn more and to join us in our efforts to power the good. And now, on to the show. Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next two guests, and we're about to get cheesy. We get to talk about cheese and cheese boards and all amazingness when it comes to what's going on with Gray's Fine Cheese and Entertaining. And so we're joined by Jackie Mao, owner, and Kurt Mullican, who's the owner and cheesemonger extraordinaire. How are you two doing?
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
So let's talk first, before we dive into Gray's, let's just talk about the cheese business in general. How did you two get into the cheese business?
Well, Jackie went on to some travels, and I'll let her talk about that in just a second. But I started with food, and I think all people who really just get into cheese can really just start with food and a love of food and what makes food great. It's really easy to get into cheese just because it's so complex and awesome. But Jackie was inspired by some actual cheese shops.
Yeah, so when I took my kids to Paris right before spring break in early March, I visited a few cheese shops, and just walking in was an amazing experience, just surrounded by cheese and all this, just the goodness around. And I came back and I told Kurt, we have got to open a cheese shop in Memphis. We had been creating cheese boards, and by we, I mean Kurt had been creating cheese boards that we sold over the holidays and we offered to guests at my Airbnb downtown. And then we just got very, very excited and inspired by my travels. And here we are opening a cheese shop now.
So talk about, when you talk about the different cheeses, give us a little bit of an education on just the different types and flavor profiles, because I think like when you dive into the world of like wine and winemaking, or really like you mentioned, Kurt, really any kind of food, there's so much complexity, and all of a sudden the floodgates open and you realize, wow, there's so much to this. So give us a little bit of when you talk about cheese and just the complexities, dive in a little bit.
And I think it's easy to start with just types of cheese and just realize that there's hundreds of different kinds of cheese under each kind of umbrella type. And we generally start with fresh cheeses, and fresh cheeses are very easy to find. You can find them anywhere. That's going to be like your goat cheese, your fresh mozzarella, feta, things that maybe are sold right after they're made very, very quickly. And then you kind of continue on. Then you have your bloomy rind or your soft ripened cheeses. Those are going to be like your bries, camemberts, if you're familiar with those. I think everybody's had a brie in their life. And then you've got your semi-soft cheeses. That's going to be like your Gouda and stuff like that. Then you've got aged cheeses like Parmigiano Reggiano. And then you've got your washed rind cheeses, and everybody knows those as the ones that stink. Those are your stinky cheeses. And then you've got blues, which are kind of their own animal. So if you just kind of start with find one of each that you like, it's really easy to open Pandora's box from there.
And so on your end, you mentioned the cheese boards, and these are not just what I would say are like regular cheese boards. I mean, these are over the top amazing cheese boards, and it's everything from, the charcuterie style where you've got the meats and the fruits. And so talk about the boards on your end when you're starting to put it together, and then we'll dive into, you've got private events, you've got a storefront coming, you've got a lot to talk about, but dive into putting together cheese boards.
Okay, I think if you were to go on Pinterest, for instance, or Instagram and look at hashtag cheese boards, you're gonna find a whole lot of maximalist things, and your eyes just kind of carry you all over these boards. I wanted the central focus to be on the cheese, and kind of make it an easy way that's popular for people to learn something, and that's paid off really, really well.
where do you like to start when you're looking at combining flavors, especially between, what cheeses, one, would someone like, but two is just what would go with a fruit versus a wine versus a meat? What are the things that you look for that go together?
So you're always looking for contrast or complement. With wine, it's often contrast, and with beer, it's usually complement. And I think if you just know those two things, that helps you get started. So with wine, white wines actually work far better than red wines. And I know that's hard for some people to hear, but with the sweetness that comes with those and the saltiness that comes with cheese, I think it's pretty easy to find something that you like. In fact, there's a lot of invisible boundaries with cheese. People think it's very complicated. If you like it, it's a good pairing. I'll tell you, the quickest way to know that it's bad is if it tastes like metal. If you put in some wine and some cheese and it's got a metallic taste, it's no bueno. Anything else is on the table.
Well, and to your point, hey, if you like it, then there you go.
Yeah, I want to tear down those barriers for sure.
So, walk us through, because you've got a lot of different ways that people can engage. You have kind of a subscription service that people can tap into. You have events, you have the cheese boards that you can custom put together, and then you have a storefront that's opening really around Valentine's Day. So talk about these different avenues that people can really enjoy what you're doing.
Well, yes. So we definitely have the option of the cheese boards. The idea with that was to gather around with your friends, especially now where people have rediscovered how to gather. So you gather around, and each cheese board comes with a handwritten pairing note from Kurt. So when you receive the cheese board, you don't have to say, well, what do I eat with what? So it handwritten note, and it'll explain to you this cheese pairs with this. And he normally puts it on the board right around where the pairings, are close to the cheese. And then, so we have that option, and you can have a date night board, which is just for two, or you can have a small, medium, or large. And the large one is for up to 15 people. And then we just launched in November a monthly cheese subscription. So you have 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months, and you will receive 3 cheeses. And each month, for whatever time period you signed up for, again, with a handwritten note from Kurt and a video explanation very extensively about the cheese and the flavors and the origins, etc. And for us, education is huge, which is why we have the handwritten notes, why we have the workshops. And in the workshops, you can come and taste, 5, 7 cheeses, and we talk about pairings, as well as pairing it with wine, or if we do a beer pairing, etc., we can also do that. And very recently, we just started having collaborative events with restaurants. So we just had one with South of Beale East, which was a 5-course menu. It was 5 cheeses, and then 5 meals, and then 5 cocktails. So that was amazing. It sold out like in a day. And now we're looking at having other events as well. Again, the central point being education and enjoying and experiencing, something a cheese that you have not experienced before.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is the education, to your point, because in many cases, cheese kind of gets a simplicity label in terms of, okay, we'll put it on a sandwich, or pimento cheese, or yet when you talk about what you're talking about, there's such a wide range in terms of being able to really enjoy cheese, and also to make it the center of an event or a conversation or a gathering place. And obviously too, a perfect gift. When you talk about the holidays, great gift idea and opportunity there. So yes. Share a little bit about gifting, and then also talk about the storefront opening up.
As far as gifting, man, like Jackie said earlier, just gathering with your friends around a board is an opportunity to connect and learn something. And I think when you do that with others, or you provide somebody the opportunity to kind of learn about cheese, it's really easy. They find something that they like, and then that just kind of opens the floodgates from there. It makes such a lovely gift to me, because knowing what I know about cheese and how much work and care goes into it, how well these animals are treated, it's an amalgamation of kind of everything that we want to see change-wise out of our current food supply. And to be able to share that with others and vote with your dollars in that way is really, really great. And when we open the storefront, you know, that opportunity for us to help people grow in that is huge.
Yeah, and the storefront is basically Poplar and Mendenhall, kind of in that area. Give us a little bit of a teaser on just, you know, when that's going to open and what the store is going to look and feel like.
Yeah, so the store is going to be opening. We're shooting for Valentine's Day weekend, and it is in the Williamsburg Shopping Center, which, as you mentioned, is in the corner of Poplar and Mendenhall. And it's going to just be amazing. We are so excited. We are going to have a cheese bar. Okay, so you're going to come up to the cheese counter, and Kurt will be waiting there for you. And you can select a pairing, you know, a cheese pairing, and he will, you know, have some very interesting and very flavorful cheeses for people to enjoy. And you can also buy a cheese board. We will continue to sell our cheese boards there. And you can also buy cheese cut to order that Kurt will be there to help you sample and walk you through, you know, whatever you're in the mood for that day. And we're going to sell the pairings as well. So we're going to have, you know, the crackers, the preserves, and all that for everybody. You can also, you know, grab all that and take it home and make your own board. So a lot of different options for people to enjoy cheese. And we will continue with our workshops there, as well as with, you know, our restaurants. So.
How did you all come up with the name Graze? So talk about Graze in terms of the name.
So Graze is kind of a play on words. I think what we saw out of the internet trend of cheese boards was a lot of grazing, and you see that in the names of a lot of these companies. And I just wanted to take that and just make it something fun and elegant, you know, and the fact that we do graze around cheese.
Yeah, it very clever play. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that's clever. That's good. Because you spell it Greys, but obviously grazing around. Yeah. And, you know, obviously the cows and everything else, back to the supply chain and the full, so yeah, that's very clever. I like that. Talk about sourcing, because as you mentioned, you know, when you talk about the environmental implications and the sustainability and some of those, give us a little bit, you know, kind of back down the logistics side of this, but talk about supply chain and where you're sourcing the cheese and talk about kind of that side of this.
I love that. In the restaurant or food business, a lot of times you see people working with very large suppliers, but in the cheese world, these artisanal and farmstead cheeses, you know, they might have 4 or 6 or 10 employees making all of these wonderful cheeses that you see across the country. And I really want to, economically, you know, help those people develop and bring them to a new audience. But also the fact that these farmers and these small operations are doing what we need to be doing. I think one of the environmental implications of large factory feeding has been, you know, destruction of the land and soil, where you're keeping tons of cows or sheep or goats. And with these smaller farms, you see this rotational grazing, and it's actually healthy for the land. The cows may graze, the chickens kind of come in, get the bugs, refertilize. Everything's done in a sustainable fashion. And again, we see the return to that with craft butchers and things like that opening back up. People want those, they want to know they had something from a happy animal, and you get that with artisanal and farmstead cheeses.
When you look at it, I love how Jackie was saying you could kind of walk up to the bar and try all these different cheeses. And I'm thinking already like the competitiveness side of, you know, when you walk into the bar, there's these different things. If you try every beer, you get the Stein, you know, like I can imagine people where they're going to want to try every cheese, you know, like, hey, yes. I want to try that one. I want to try this one. So what's something on your end that you're most excited for in terms of having this ability to literally kind of like lay out and give people a chance to try all these different flavors and do something special related to cheese? So what's exciting to you all in that context?
So we have this kind of thing we've brought to Instagram where we kind of greet our tribe of turophiles. And a turophile is someone who's into cheese. And I think what I'm most excited about is helping someone on that journey, but becoming a turophile. And I do have plans for a VIP club where, you've tried every cheese that we have, or, I want people to be as good at cheese as I am, or better. And I want to teach them. But the best thing to me, or any cheesemonger, in my opinion, is handing someone something across the counter that you have discovered in your travels or your time, and just watching their brain melt with pleasure. There's nothing better than watching somebody take that bite of cheese and just, you can see it in their face, the joy that happens.
So before I ask Jackie that same question, what is a cheesemonger?
A cheesemonger is someone who is very well versed in the world of cheese, pairings, wines, and beers. And again, I think the definition of a cheesemonger is someone who helps people find what they love. I think that when it comes to cheese.
Nice. So Jackie, what makes you excited about being able to welcome people into the storefront, but to really kind of help them on this journey and do something special with it?
Well, I think to Kurt's point is probably the same thing. We when we have these workshops and these seminars, I've seen people say, I hated blue cheese, but now I can, I like this one. Or we've had a friend try this cheese, and he literally held his head and he said, oh my gosh, this is so good. So just the idea of people really having this unexpected new love for something that they did not particularly enjoy, or discovering something that is just mind-blowing. I think that's just great.
Yeah. Well, the last question is the easy one, is talk about the website. Where do we go? You mentioned the social media. So where do we find you on social media? Where do we go online?
Well, go to grayshd.com. And you can also find us on Facebook and on Instagram. And Instagram is Grays HD and then _.
And make sure GREYS. So GREYSHD.com. That makes it easy. Jackie, Kurt, thank you for all you do. We're excited for the future ahead for you as well. So thank you for all you do and for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thank you
so much,
for having
us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.